Hey, good afternoon, good evening, guys. I guess it is evening now. Time is 6:13 here on Sunday, and I'm doing a little quick live here, doing a YouTube live actually, talking about our severe weather threat as we head into this upcoming week. So it has been a very nice weekend across the Arklatex. We had, a lot of sunshine. It was great for the Mardi Gras parades on Saturday and also on Sunday. But now that we're getting into this upcoming work week, we are starting to focus more on Tuesday. Now, we gave you the first alert. We were talking about this system like a week ago, and we've been forecasting Tuesday to be a rough day for the last week or so. So we've given you guys plenty of warning, but now it looks like things are starting to come together for that severe weather threat as we head into our Tuesday. So basically, what we're talking about here is we got a big storm system coming in. So we got a strong area of low pressure that's going to come in from the west, strong cold front that's going to come in, and that's going to lead to that severe weather potential for Tuesday. Now, the timing has really started to kind of zero in on the morning hours. So it looks like most of what we get on Tuesday, the main severe threat is actually going to be earlier in the day because we're going to see a big squall line coming through the area. So it's going to form first across portions of East Texas and portions of Oklahoma along that powerful cold front. So Texas, Oklahoma, Central Texas, up into Central Oklahoma, that's where that line is going to start to form as we get into Monday night. So Monday night, that line of storm starts to develop off to our west late Monday night. Then it quickly sweeps to the east and moves through our area, through the Arklatex during the day on Tuesday. But again, it looks like most of that will be during the morning hours on our Tuesday. So I'm going to wait for a few more people to hop on here, and then I'm going to get this rolling. And for those that don't follow along on my YouTube channel, or that you're not going to be able to see this YouTube live, I'm going to do another live event later on this evening on Facebook, so you'll be able to see it there as well. But again, what we're going to be talking about pretty much during this YouTube live is our severe threat on Tuesday. So again, it looks like a few more of you have joined in now. So I'm going to go to the graphics here. Well, what I'm going to do first is go through some of the forecast models and kind of what they're showing us, and then we'll jump into some more specifics for the Arklatex as well. But this is the latest HRRR. So this is one of the high resolution forecast models that's actually pretty good when it comes to severe weather most times. So this is when we start to really get a lot more confidence on our severe weather potential once we start to see these high resolution forecast models. But basically what we have going on right now is we do have some severe weather happening right now across portions of Oklahoma and into North Texas. But that's not the system that we're going to be watching. This one that's going on right now off to our west, watch what happens to that. That just kind of falls apart. So that's not going to really be any sort of a deal for us. We could get a few rain showers, just a few showers here tomorrow morning. That's going to move in from portions of East Texas up into portions of Arkansas. But that overall complex of storms will weaken as we move through the overnight hours into early tomorrow morning. So this is as we get into early Monday. So this is early tomorrow morning. And you can see how that complex of storms has kind of weakened by the time it gets into the Arklatex. So then that kind of moves off, and then we're kind of left with some pretty quiet weather. And, tomorrow's going to be a relatively quiet day overall. Then we get into late tomorrow night. So this is overnight Monday into Tuesday morning. You can see that big squall line beginning to form out across really from Kansas all the way down through Oklahoma City out towards Dallas. This is what it's going to look like here by 6 a.m. on Tuesday. So this is 6 o'clock Tuesday morning, and you can see that big squall line forming right there. So that's going to be right along that cold front. And this is what it looks like is going to basically be, as I mentioned before, a big long line of storms that's going to form along that front. So that's what we refer to as a squall line. And so with that setup, that kind of leads to more of a damaging wind potential versus a tornado risk. Having said that, though, I think there could definitely be some tornadic activity within that line of storms. So we could see those brief spin-up tornadoes potentially. It's just something we're going to have to kind of monitor as we get closer to the event. And I'm going to pause here for just a second and see if there are any questions or anything like that. And again, if you're not watching on this, I'm going to go ahead and do another one of these on Facebook a little bit later because I feel like I get more traction definitely on Facebook overall. But there are a few of you watching. So again, that is Tuesday morning according to the HRRR forecast model. And you can see that big line off to our west as we get into about 10 a.m. on Tuesday. You can see that line rapidly moving in from the west. So look how fast that thing's moving in. I mean, that'll start to move into northwest Louisiana. If this model verifies, it looks like this is going to start to arrive in Shreveport and Bossier by, maybe as early as 10 a.m. So the trend that we have seen throughout the weekend, really for the last several days, is that the forecast models are really moving this whole system through rapidly. It's going to be in and out here very, very quickly. So what that means is that this is going to be more of an early day event, and that's good for us because we don't want this to come through in the afternoon during the peak heating, because if that happens, then these storms would be even stronger. So the fact that this is going to maybe come through during the first part of the day could bode well for us, could help limit that severe threat a little bit. Nonetheless, here by mid-morning on Tuesday, this is 15Z Tuesday, so this is about 10 a.m. on Tuesday morning. You can see a pretty healthy squall line pushing through. Now, even as early as 10 o'clock in the morning, there could be some severe weather moving into portions of East Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwestern Arkansas, and this whole line here could have some damaging winds. And within that line of storms, there could be a few embedded, circulations. So I can't even rule out a few tornadoes in the morning as well. We'll take you to lunchtime, and look at that. I mean, if this model is to be believed, this is accurate, then that would bring most of the storms already through our entire area by lunchtime. So that'd be a morning event, and then we'd be completely clearing up by the afternoon. Now, again, that's just one forecast model. This is the HRRR, but what I want to look at now is the North American model and the NAM 3 kilometer. So this is just another high resolution forecast model. As we're getting closer to these storms, we're starting to get the more of those high resolution models in. So again, let's kind of go backwards here. So this is where we are right now. We got this one complex of storms moving through Oklahoma and Texas. This is going to weaken overnight tonight. So this is not going to be any impact to us. It could bring a few showers to our area tomorrow morning, but again, not a big deal for us yet. So that's tomorrow morning. That kind of moves through with very little fanfare. I mean, we could get a little bit of rain out of that. And then most of your Monday's quiet. And then again, we get into late Monday night into Tuesday morning. This is around midnight. You can see that line starts to form off here to the west. So you see that forming across Kansas back through Oklahoma. And then that whole line is going to start to really expand as we head through the overnight hours. So that is 6 a.m. on Tuesday. Now notice this model is a lot slower than the HRRR. This kind of keeps that line off to our west a little bit longer. So as we head towards, mid-morning, this is about 10 a.m. on Tuesday, you can see that the line of storms getting closer to us, and we could see some development out ahead of the main line, so just a heavy rainfall event during the morning. But this model versus the previous one that I just showed you, this one kind of swings this whole line through a little bit slower. So there are still a few timing discrepancies here, exactly when this is all going to happen. But it does look like, some point during the mid to late morning hours through maybe early afternoon is when most of this is going to happen. So that is at 10 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. And then we move along to midday on Tuesday. So that's midday Tuesday. You can see that big line pushing through Northwest Louisiana. But remember, the other model I showed had that line already kind of clearing our eastern parishes. So this would be a little bit of a slower situation, which would make that line move through, or have that line moving through a few hours slower. And if this was to actually verify, that could actually lead to a higher severe threat, because basically the later that this line comes into our area, the warmer it's going to be outside. And so if we get more of an afternoon event, if the timing slows down and this comes through in the afternoon, that's really going to increase our severe risks. If it comes through more in the morning hours, as it looks like it's going to at this point, that would reduce the severe chances overall. But again, that's midday on Tuesday, and then that quickly moves off to the east. So this is, look at that, by 6 p.m. on Tuesday, this thing's already out of Louisiana entirely. So this is going to just move through extremely fast, and then that would set up portions of Mississippi, Alabama, places like that, and even portions of Tennessee, southeastern Arkansas could be under the gun as we head into 6 p.m. on our Tuesday. How is Northwest DeSoto Parish looking? Hello, Missy. Northwest DeSoto Parish, I think you're going to be getting in on this probably during the morning. In fact, I'm going to get to some graphics specifically for the Arklatex here. So let me switch my... Okay, so let's get into some of our specific, things here for the Arklatex. So this is our overall setup. It's a big low pressure system. This is going to be a powerful low pressure, and it's going to have a lot of energy with it. And I'll get to your question here, Missy, in just a second if you're still watching. But this is the overall setup. So we got this big, strong area of low pressure coming through the Arklatex on Tuesday. Strong cold front, a lot of wind energy with this system. So the ingredients are there for a lot of severe weather. The big question now is the timing of this front. Now, severe storms are likely. What we're likely going to see is this fast-moving squall line, but it should be completely out of here by mid to late afternoon. And so, again, timing is key to all of this because the faster this comes through, the lower that severe risk. So here's kind of maybe will help answer some questions, but this is as we head through the overnight. So I'm going to go through this kind of quickly because this is not what we're really talking about. This is tomorrow morning here. So tomorrow morning, just, a few showers, not a big deal. But the big event is going to happen as we get into the overnight hours of Monday into Tuesday. So watch what happens here Tuesday morning. And this is 7 o'clock Tuesday morning. You can see we already have some showers developing across the area, especially northwest Louisiana. But the main line, the main brunt of this is still off to our west. You can see that line forming there across southern portions of Oklahoma and portions of Texas. And then as we move along, so let me just kind of move this a little bit further. So you can see by the time we get into, 8, 9 a.m. or so is what it looks like now, at least according to this. So Missy, for what you're asking, based on the latest data, it looks like DeSoto might start to get in on this pretty early in the day. I'm thinking like 8, maybe 9 a.m. So I think it's going to be a morning type situation. And, the earlier these storms come through in the morning, the less chance they have of being severe because it's just not going to be warm enough. Now, having said that, I still think we could have some damaging winds, and there's a small chance we could get a tornado with these storms in the morning, but it's not a huge chance. But again, that's 9 a.m. You can see it moving through Shreveport, Bossier, into DeSoto Parish. Pretty much all of the Arklatex is going to see it by that point. And then we move to 10 a.m. Let me stop this here. 10 o'clock. And you can see how we got this broken line of storms kind of pushing through. But these storms, even as early as 10 a.m., they could be severe. So we'll likely be under some sort of a watch Tuesday morning, either a tornado watch or a severe thunderstorm watch. And then, again, the main threat with this line is going to be the potential for some damaging wind that continues to make its way eastward. So as we get towards lunchtime, you can see that's pretty much clearing the Shreveport, Bossier metro areas, moving into more of our central and eastern locations by then. And then look at this, by 2 p.m., this is already getting out of here. So, I mean, this is going to be a really fast-moving line. Of course, Missy, no problem. This is going to be a very fast-moving line of storms, and it should begin to move out of our region by mid-afternoon as it looks right now. So, let me see if there's any other questions. Don't see too many. So, again, that is Tuesday at 2 p.m., and then as we continue along, that kind of moves out. So, as far as the timing here, this is kind of gives you a better idea of the timeline of how this is going to move through. So, for portions of East Texas up into southwestern Arkansas and up into McCurtain County, timeline here between about 7 and 10 a.m. on your Tuesday, and then it gets into the Shreveport, Bossier areas. I'm giving the 3-hour windows increments here because, again, this can kind of shift back and forth. But, if you're watching from northwest Louisiana, anywhere in that kind of orange shaded area right in the middle there, that's anywhere from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., so around midday. And then if you're in our eastern parishes, that'll be sometime in the early to mid-afternoon as it looks right now. So again, the threat area that we're talking about is right there. So the eastern half, basically anybody eastern half of the Arklatex, we have that higher risk on Tuesday, and that's because that's going to be when that line is pushing in during the later. So basically the later in the day, the higher the risk. So as that line is pushing east, that's why the risk gets higher as it moves east as well. So you can see, eastern areas under that enhanced risk here, the western half of the area underneath that slight risk at this point. And then let's take a look at the threats that we're talking about here. And you can see all threats are on the table with this system. We could see a few tornadoes, and I think what we're going to see here is this big squall line coming through. And so we could see these brief spin up type tornadoes like within that line of storms. So some embedded circulations. And typically these type of situations will lead to brief, short-lived tornadoes. They typically aren't super intense tornadoes, but any tornado can cause damage. But this is more of those situations where it can lead to some of those brief kind of spin up tornadoes. So it's something we're going to be watching there. Large hail, not super concerned about that, but there could be a few storms that produce some quarter-size hail. Damaging winds, probably going to be one of the bigger concerns, 60, 70-mile-an-hour winds possible. Heavy rain, not really a big concern just because of the speed that this is all going to come through. So If you're just joining us, I've been talking about this severe threat for Tuesday, and basically, if there has been any sort of change, today or the last couple of days, it's that the forecast models are speeding this thing up quicker. So that would actually move this whole line through pretty fast. Let me go back to the forecast model. So what I want to do is go back to our HRRR. So again, this is one of our high resolution forecast models, and let's just look at a few parameters here for severe weather. So what we're looking at here is surface-based CAPE. So this is basically the available energy for storms. And so we're looking at the CAPE here. That's too bright. There we go, that's better. So this is the CAPE, so the convective available potential energy. That's what CAPE stands for. And so basically what this is showing us is the amount of energy that we have to work with as we head into our Tuesday. So watch how that starts to come in off the Gulf. That's that very warm, unstable air coming northward. So this is as we get into Monday evening. So this is tomorrow evening, and you can see all that warm, humid air just flowing to the north up through portions of Texas, up Oklahoma, all the way up into Kansas. So the areas that you see shaded in the color here, where you see purple, where you see blues, that's where we have a more favorable environment for severe storms. You can see the Arctic still not really in that at this point. But we get into early Tuesday morning. This is about 10 a.m. on Tuesday. You can see that little tongue of instability, that little favorable area. So that's going to be right ahead of the cold front, right south of that warm front. So this little triangle that you see right here, that's what we call the warm sector of the storm. And right through here, that's where you have the greatest amount of CAPE. That's where you have the greatest amount of energy for these storms. And so that's going to continue to make its way across Louisiana through midday on Tuesday. That's noon on Tuesday. You can see that it's a small area too, but that is the most favorable zone for severe weather when you look at CAPE. Now, when we look at the supercell composite, so this basically looks at the parameters in the atmosphere that are favorable for supercells. So obviously supercells are the storms that rotate. They're the ones that produce tornadoes. And you can see the brighter colors there correlate to areas that have that higher supercell risk. And so that would be Tuesday morning across East Texas, and then it kind of trails off into Louisiana by midday, and then it kind of moves just to our south and east towards Alexandria by about noon. But again, that's the area right through there that has the potential for higher potential for some supercell structures. And then we look at our tornado parameter, and again, the same thing here. So you see the colors, that's the area that would most likely have or has the ingredients for tornadoes. And so you can see that's kind of centered across East Texas Tuesday morning, and then that area kind of drifts into Louisiana. It looks like kind of along and south of I-20, maybe has the more favorable environment for potential tornadoes. That's our tornado parameter. Again, this is just a lot of stuff, kind of nerdy stuff that we look at behind the scenes to see, where the greatest threat is going to be. Let me see if anyone has any questions. I don't see too many now, but again, we're just kind of looking at some of the inside the forecast model type stuff. And this is the reason I like doing these lives with you guys, because I can actually show you stuff that I can't on TV. So again, this is looking inside the forecast model, the various parameters. This is our tornado parameter. You can see that is moving through East Texas. And basically what this shows us is where the environment is most supportive of potential tornadoes. And so that would be, looks like East Texas down through central Louisiana, I would say along and south of I-20, so kind of this area through here, and that eventually will move into Mississippi as we head into the afternoon. So that's the HRRR. Let's take a look at the NAM, the North American model, and we'll take a look at the CAPE on this one as well. So again, same deal here where you'll see the colors. That's where we have the energy for severe weather, and you can see as we get into Tuesday, there's about midday on Tuesday, you see that little narrow area of higher CAPE. So that's the convective available potential energy. And you can almost see where that center of the low is. The low is going to be up here across Kansas, and trailing that is going to be, you got that cold front trailing that low. So kind of right along that, that's where all that instability is going to be kind of sucked up into that low pressure system. And that's where we kind of have those favorable ingredients. So we're talking CAPE here, over 1,000 joules per kilogram, which is basically just telling us that this is an area here that does have enough energy for severe weather. Then as we get into the afternoon, notice that kind of shifts into central and eastern Louisiana. So this is late Tuesday afternoon. You can see that area from central eastern Louisiana, and then that kind of wraps up all the way up into Arkansas, even up into Missouri, kind of wrapping around that area of low pressure. So basically what you see there is just energy for storms. And so you can see it kind of gets pulled northward into that low pressure system. That's your cape. Let's take a look at the supercell composite. And again, this is the area that is most favorable for potential supercells. And you see that right through there. So that's in East Texas Tuesday morning. That shifts into Louisiana. And so again, it's going to be a little area there right along and south of I-20 as we get into midday Tuesday into Tuesday afternoon. That looks like it would have that potential higher tornado threat and severe weather threat. So I would say Alexandria over towards central southern Mississippi, in my opinion, has the greatest potential for severe weather. That's our supercell parameter. You can see that kind of moving eastward as we head through Tuesday afternoon. And then when we look at the significant tornado parameter, this is just another tool that we can use. So this basically takes into account a number of environmental factors, a number of factors in the environment, in the atmosphere, and shows us where, at least this is where the forecast model thinks it would be the greatest likelihood that there would be a potential tornado if one were to form. And you can see, so the environment across East Texas is favorable for that. That does move into Louisiana as we head towards midday, and then it really kind of shifts into eastern portions of the state. But where you see that shade of red, the oranges, the yellows, the brighter colors on here, that's the area that potentially would have that higher tornado threat, and that kind of moves off into Mississippi, and then kind of dissipates as we head into the overnight hours, which is typical for severe weather. So let me actually go to the Storm Prediction Center, kind of show you kind of a wider scale, kind of a wider look at the area that we're talking about. And so this is the area on Tuesday that is highlighted. So you can see it's a pretty large area. I mean, this is not just going to be for the Arklatex. This does extend all the way up towards Springfield, Missouri, all the way east through eastern portions of Alabama, and then all the way down to New Orleans. So that whole area in yellow does have a slight risk, where you see that kind of centered bullseye there, a little farther to the south. That is, where we have that enhanced risk. And when you look at the probabilistic, so this is kind of going inside, and it's kind of hard to see. I wish I could zoom in a little bit, but I can't, unfortunately. Unless I can right there. Let's see here. And let me see. No, it won't let me zoom in, unfortunately. But you see that little area there. Hopefully you can see that. So that's like that spot I was just kind of showing you. And that's from, central southern portions of, actually more of central Louisiana up into central and southern Mississippi. So that area that you see right through there, that kind of hatched area, including Alexandria up through Jackson, Mississippi, where you see that black outline right through there. And I know it's tough to see, but where you see that, and that does include some of our southeastern parishes, that'd be like Natchitoches. So that extends up into central Mississippi. Right through there, that's the spot that I think has the highest likelihood on Tuesday of potentially some tornadoes. And if we see any individual storm cells popping up ahead of the main line, that's where we could see potentially some tornadic development. So that's the area of greatest concern on Tuesday, is really in that black kind of outlined area there. So, and let me see. Don't see a whole lot of questions. I'm probably going to end this shortly because not a lot of folks are on this. Of course, my YouTube channel is still pretty new. I just kind of started doing this recently. So that's the area of greatest concern as we head into Tuesday. But I'm going to do another live here in a few minutes and switch over to Facebook Live so you guys can kind of watch on there as well. So, and again, I'm going to end this now. There's only 5 of you on here, so we're going to do something and more of you can hopefully chime in, and I will see you guys here.